done. Hope you enjoyed the montage. And we have all the rifles kitted out, and we actually threw in an additional 8.3. And so, Jonas, why don't you go ahead and do a quick run through of your 11.5 you kitted out.
Yeah, so as you guys saw like earlier in the build, we had a series of just different options and stuff. So, you know, thinking again, the environment, close quarter CQB, having an 11.5 gun, if that is what I have in my inventory, you know, a couple different things I want to look at. So here we go. We got the 11.5 here. A couple different things that we put in place and the reasons why and the thought application to it. I'll just kind of start from the front and just kind of work my way back. But with this this carbine here, we put the shorter little SOCOM Mini on there. We just want to kind of look at the possibility of, since this gun is kind of getting a little bit longer with the 11.5, how can we go with a shorter option variation of a suppressor and then reducing down that extension that's in place and such. Just because I have a little bit more rail space right here, I was able to put on just a 1000 lume Surefire light that's on there. And so with that, I mean, you got a little bit of extension that's going to happen. It holds like 2 batteries instead of just having one, where you see like the mini scouts and such. Yeah. So a couple of things that kind of took place on the setup of this, but as I was looking at on how I was installing this in when I was starting my build. So as I start my build, I always put like rubber bands on first, just because once you put everything on, it's kind of hard to get it around everything. And then next thing you know, you're busting rubber bands and getting frustrated. And then you're like, this is a stupid idea. But with that, once I got the rubber bands in place, immediately just put the at-pill laser, putting it all far forward. Why? Well, because of the fact that this is where my sport hand grip is going to be. So I want to be able to have positive control on the at-pill or an NGAL or, you know, whatever laser that I'm utilizing, so it conforms in combination with my support hand grip for forward muzzle control, being able to manipulate the weapon system, drive it from target to target, or whatever the case is. And I can also have my thumb position to manipulate my dial switch as necessary. All right, also to taking the caps off. But once that was on, then I went ahead, just kind of moved on to the light setting. Wasn't really sure at first where the place was at, because I'm actually kind of picky just on my end about my light placement. Is it too far forward? Is it too far back? And then as I have a suppressor on there extending, is it capturing within the light? Am I getting full clarity of the light, or am I getting a little bit of shadow because it's offsetting from there? So I wasn't sure at first where that happy medium spot was going to be until I had the gun fully assembled. But I placed it back a little bit, and then ended up fixing it a little bit later. As I go back and such, since looking at daytime and nighttime options and all, okay, if daytime outside, or I happen to be in a building that just happens to have really good light, or all the lights are on, there's nothing really there, low light or no light that's restricting me, the weapon system is formed for that primary environment right there. You know, just kind of working through the daytime, like if I was on the flat range, if I was running performance, if I was doing a CQB, where's the best placement for my hand for maximum control and stability and control and manipulation of the gun. And so once I had that configured in place, then I just kind of moved back. You know, I have different types of switches, options that are out there. There's, you know, Surefire, but here we went with the Unity tap switch. We just wanted to go ahead and be able to utilize that. It's a great switch. I know a lot of people are using it, and then there's different configurations, so like where they place it at. Just because I have a little more extended rail space right here, I wanted to go ahead and set it up, you know, a little bit more towards the rear. Yes, it causes a little bit of retraction of the support arm, but it's still in a position that I still have enough forward control to be able to operate and maneuver the weapon system itself. And so I had it positioned up right behind the at-pill laser. And then with that, just kind of reinforce it with some rubber bands, mainly just to capture the coils. As you guys can see, just making it clean and flush, no snags. And then since you have wires that's on the inside of this, I wanted to be able to curve it around in a proper position where it's not getting pinched. Once it gets pinched, then you could possibly have a failure within the switch system itself. And then, you know, some people may kind of question, like, hey, look, you know, this may be too far back. Like, why would you want that when you preach all this forward control stuff? And it's like, well, it's all about torquing and turning and how I'm positioning and stabilizing that gun and vicing it. So in combination of just me utilizing my support arm, I'm also overdriving my firing shoulder, you know, to compress for muzzle control purposes. But what I can get away that assists me is on some grip enhancers right here. So with that, you can kind of see we got a couple little...
the Slate back industries grip panels.
Grip panels, thank you. Sorry, I had a little brain fart right there. But putting those in place to enhance, like when my hand is forward, backing it up with the hand stop, you know. And as you guys can see, when I'm operating this, I mean, I do have some positive contact in place when I compress my hand. But then if I have to withdraw back, having it positioned there, I can manipulate my hand where I can still get that positive contact to be able to have that kind of support arm control, pulling back and compressing in with my firing shoulder as I'm overdriving that and vicing that gun. So really happy about how clean and flush it kind of set up. In addition to that, as you guys can see, one thing I failed to mention earlier about the light, but when I position the light here with Surefire, we got the little adjustable one that just kind of conforms, became real popular, or the requirement was kind of set out about how can I have a light that I can mount, you know, 45 degrees up on the top or to the bottom, or if I want it at a 90, whatever your individual setup is. But with all the different models of you know, night vision lasers, app peels, D-balls, NGALs, MAL-Ds, where can I be able to position a light and then conform it where it's flush, you know, with the gun, and it just looks good, it feels good, and it conforms with your grip, even going from strong side to weak side. So we put that up here, and if you guys kind of notice, there might be a slight little gap right here, and that's intentional, okay? Even though I want to, it's very easy to want to just put it up flush against the laser, but I want to have the clearance so then I'm able to pull back my protective cover on my laser, whichever one that I have, or my IR laser, and be able to clear it and manipulate it back and forth. Earlier when I tried it and I had it up against there, it would catch. Yeah, I could pull it back, but then eventually it would just push itself back forward. And if I'm in a mode or an environment where I'm utilizing that, I don't want to have that possible contingency taking place. So that was just the thought right there, just a little bit of gap. Okay, you know, people can be like, everything needs a touch. Hey, whatever. This is the way my gun's set up, and it's going to work for me. So moving on down the weapon system itself. Okay, moving further back, you guys can see then we use the Unity riser here. And then I have the Comp M5 that's positioned on this. And so as you guys can see on this weapon system, there isn't an actual iron sight that's in place. And you know, with the Unity Tactical riser, it has one that's built in here. So it's like, it didn't seem like there was really a necessary reason to put it up there. And so got it in place, kind of center line of the mag well going up. Just had it on the last little rail space right here. The reason why it's a little more forward is just because of the fact that I have a 3-power magnification option that's right there. So I couldn't move it back. I didn't want to move it forward. And for you guys that know, I mean, with where your rail connects with your upper receiver here, we don't want to be positioning these right there directly on top. They can potentially fit, but then, you know, there's a lot of stress that's happening. And so we don't want to be able to position an optic where if you know, if you guys were to look at a gun going under slow motion camera, these parts are slightly moving and stuff. And so we just want to be able to make sure that it's locked in place, it's secure, there's nothing interfering with it that could stress it or cause you know, something to happen. I don't know. But coming in behind, the primary optic did have a 3-power option. Why do I have a 3-power option? Well, I mean, honestly, that just goes into what is it that you are trying to gain as a goal, you know, as an end user. And we talked about that. So it's like, okay, if I have an SBR of some type, but then my SBR, you know, was smart on my selection of barrel length, I was smart on my selection of the ammunition and stuff, and I have to go to more further extended range. What is extended range? That's up to you on what you feel that is in some ways, but there is an extended range concept. I mean, generally, you know, it's like we talk about past 200 yards, then we're getting into extended range and stuff. But to kind of help you out on extended range or be able to zoom in on a smaller target or an LP shot at distance that's behind cover, or even a target that could be at 50 yards or 75 yards and they're behind cover and I can only see so much of them on exposure from what they're giving me as a real estate option to place a round successfully. If I can get into a position, I can go ahead and manipulate this up and give me the advantage to zoom in to ensure that I can properly identify my target and properly identify where my sight placement needs to be at. And then also understanding distances and trajectory of rounds, I'll be able to be successful of my shot. All right. So moving back, moving back to the gun. This fixed stock one, nothing wrong with that. But then Also, too, if you guys look, I mean, whether the 3 power is collapsed down, if I'm just using my optic for close quarters, and then I need to have magnification because I could be exterior of the building or such, or on a flat range, or just whatever your environment that, like I said, that requires you to have that extension or that magnification. I wanted to be able to position it or have also too to ensure that there's a charging handle that if it's collapsed down, I can still manipulate this charging handle if I have to execute a tap rack immediate action, or use my charging handle for whatever reason right there. And so I've seen problems with this where guys have had kind of like your standard normal charging handle that you see on carbines or M4s or such, where it's a little bit shorter in place. Guys that have a 3 power magnification, it's caused problems for them to be able to properly grab it, rip it, and then clear it on out. So, you know, we like the raptor clip for that reason, because it's ambidextrous on both sides, and then it gives that little bit of extension out there in place and such. So I'm happy with it. Did kind of play around with it manipulation wise, and everything felt good, whether I went from my strong side to my weak side. I'm a huge believer in trying to push yourself, especially in a CQB environment, you know, become an ambidextrous shooter. Then there's pros and cons to that as well, but we'll get into that another point or another point in time when we're talking about actual CQB and then how that helps you out. But the gun conformed that if I go to my weak side here, I'm still able to manipulate my lights. I'm still able to manipulate my switches. I'm still able to utilize my optics. And if you look at the contingency factors, how the gun is set up as well, I mean, yes, we're using tape switches to plug in and then control, like our at-pill laser to include our tack light. Well, if I have a cable failure, and this does happen, I mean, and it's happened to me at unexpected times and such, but like a cable failure, either it broke, wear and tear, I mean, just whatever the case was, I can still come up and use the optic itself. And so even if you can see here on the Surefire tack light, I decided to go with the option in the back that has, you know, a thumb push option as well, because if my pressure pad did fail, I can still manipulate this, whether it's in my strong side or my weak side. So everything's going to work and conform right there. But yeah, I'm really excited to take this gun out and then go running in the shoot house here. So
looks like it'll run smooth. All right. Well, I chose 10.5. It's kind of the middle of the road between the 8.3 and the 11.5, and as you can see, it's looking rifle, light, laser, and try to use the max amount of rail space allotted with this 9.5 inch rail, and use the Unity forward grip, vertical grip, and I put it in a position to where it's kind of like a happy medium. As you can see, as I grip my hand here, I can still have a thumb. I can actuate the top of the laser. Also can reach back further enough to, as the primary, the way I face the pad, primary on and off switch, and then the momentary, but it just gives me that option as far as how I can manipulate the gun and, you know, traverse my hand back and forth. And so that's the option I went with. Also, as Jonas taught me earlier, the Surefire Pro Light's a good option because you can adjust the light, you know, to you, and had a little bit of standoff to help clear the suppressor with the Picatinny rail, and then also set it to where I can actuate, you know, as far as move my laser caps and not bind up within the light. And went with the Unity riser and the EOTech. As far as my preferences when it comes to shooting close quarters, I feel like the reticle is going to give me a little bit of advantage as far as when it comes to offset as a quick reference point into closer up targets, and a little bit faster for my eyes in that sense when it comes to holograph reticle. And
get a bigger window and just more clarity. Yeah,
exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And plus keep it nice and high with the riser. I don't have to dip my head down, just keep it nice, the stock and the rifle nice and high. As far as that goes, this one is outfitted with a folder for storage, so keeping the law tactical to keep the package overall small. And suppressor, we have the OSS 556 tie with a flash hider end cap, and not, you know, wasn't too bad with going with the full size can. Like I said, with the 10.5 inch barrel, the barrel's still relatively short, so adding that onto there is still not going to increase, you know, a greater amount of you know, length. Is still going to keep it, it's going to keep it relatively short. In case the optic goes down, I could take it off, backup irons in there, flip in the front. But yeah, I mean, it's just as far as having some of the necessities on there, light, laser, and the switches, it was all just mainly just finding that balance when I was setting this up. Is how is it going to work as far as transitioning? Can I transition? Yes. Can I reach the two buttons? yes, it's just a slight manipulation, but it's well within reach of how my hands are set up, and that's up to you when you build yours. A couple rail panels here to keep the heat off, obviously when firing suppressed. But other than that, though, I'm just looking forward to getting a shoot house and running it. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. We could set it up this way, but as soon as we go through those paces, we might want to change something there on site, and who knows? We'll see what happens. But so far, it feels great. And let's talk about the A3s.
Can I ask you something really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Or just add on to that. So I really like this gun setup. I mean, it's clean, it's slick, and not to try to be a cosmetic person as to why I choose all my options, it actually looks pretty good too. So the gun does look sexy, but there is a thought process and a reason why to everything. And some of the things here you can kind of look at is because remember when we discuss like gun options, there's a how and a reason and a why, and there's pros and there's cons. And then the cons, like we got to look at the cons too. Does it impede me, or does it assist me, or is it something that I can identify to work around where then it is no longer a con? But some of the stuff here, like we have discussed before when we did the MVG video on flipping your front sight post around. What does that offer you? What does that afford? And honestly, it's a personal preference. And I discussed before that the reason why I like that is just having my hand forward, that in the event if my primary optic goes out and then I am in a close quarters environment, because my hand is already up here, I can immediately just switch this off and keeping the gun vertically in line, be able to place shots onto the threat or onto the target at close distances. Now, guys will switch this up too. They may want it turned around, okay, fine, but then that's moving everything back even further. And then, or the guys may want an iron sight coming back here, and then you can move the, your laser up a little bit closer to the end, but then it's like that can kind of limit you on where you want your pressure pad at, and then some guys will actually move, the laser all the way to the back. And then what we discussed before on that is like, hey, that's fine as long as you can manipulate it, you can work the contingencies. And then when you're operating an IR laser, if it's further back, is it capturing, the rail and the suppressor, and then you're losing the full amount of your floodlight, which I don't really want to personally do right there. And then, having a riser, we talked about, yes, it gives eye relief, but it increases your offset. And so closer distances, you have to have that forward thought process in place as you are moving through in close quarters. So then, therefore, if you have a low percentage shot, or your target or your threat is behind cover, and especially some of the stops rounds, you can be able to articulate that, still place your shots accurately. Or if defense or something like that, there's a threat in my house, and then has my kid, and then I have to be forced to be in a position to protect my family and then deal with the threat. Well, that low percentage shot, if possible, and then TAC teams, thinking hostage rescue, I have to have this mastered down, on the offset. I cannot mess that shot up. But some guys like risers because the eye relief, but then clarity of the window, that's a big thing for me. I don't like it where I have a huge window like an EOTech, or a smaller window like an aim point, and then my forward objects or on my gun system is reducing that window down size a little bit further. So some guys may put it on a riser just to clear past that, so then it's not impeding in their field of view through their optic, and then kind of just clogging this up. But
plus maximizing rail space for the sight going forward.
Roger that.
Like I said, you've had full back. I know some people kind of want to run it fixed all the time, but
I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, I don't want anything in the window. All right, so last is the A3s. We have two set up here, so I have one here and right there. And just go ahead and go through rundown on when you have right in your hand, and show on the second one.
Okay, yeah, so we wanted to show just kind of set up 183, and then after I set the one up, I was like, well, not everybody's gonna either want this kind of option or may not even have a laser, so or IR laser. So this is kind of set up for an IR laser that's right here. You guys can see, since I got the 8.3, we went with a little bit longer suppressor in place, and then you can explain that a little bit better as to why.
Yeah, as far as that with the pressures with the 8.3, I mean, it's a lot of unburnt powder, so typically you're not going to get a lot of sound reduction, and plus, like I said, the barrel's shorter, so you have that that room to add a little bit of a longer suppressor, and so you just want to be able to capture that volume, and so the can handle that. It's a lot. In certain companies will make a suppressor that are rated for barrels that are below 10.5 inch and things like that. So, and they tend to be larger. Typically, the smaller cans, what we found out is that there's a lot of force going through it. So, but so far that should get the job done. And when it comes to the 8.3, and you did a good job maximizing rail space. Same thing, another Surefire Pro on here too. And like I said, just having that adjustment option to clear your covers for your laser. That's all there. Rubber bands containing everything like before. Went with the zip tie option, and then we didn't show it on the 10.5, but also too we went to the zip tie option. So these bands here to cord management, zip tie option to take the pressure switch, and that's all. It's maximizing what we have on the rail space, because 8.3 is really short, but going with the smaller pressure pad, you can see we found an option to use zip ties. Simple fix, quick fix right there.
We're just trying to show options on just attaching your stuff. Guys that use adhesiveness on this, I mean, they always come off eventually over time from the gun getting hot, and then just constant pressure, you know, either you're manipulating it or putting it in your gun bag or whatnot. And so, again, like I said, we just wanted to show just different options right here. How it's conformed in position, I can manipulate it however my preferences on gripping my gun, and it's like as long as I can manage the recoil and then operate it properly, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, so it's like 8.3 was a little bit of a challenge on how to figure out some setups, just because, you know, we have not a lot of real estate on attachment spaces. And so with this on the 8.3, if I was looking at trying to set this gun up as a either a concealment gun or something like that, you know, I can be able to have the stock folder, you know, in place, even with a suppressor, very easy to store around in different locations, whether in your vehicle to a backpack or something like that. So if you are in law enforcement or some kind of TAC mode or something that just requires you, this is a really good option right here to have. And then, you know, with that, having a suppressor in place, and then I can store this if I need to use it, I can utilize it. But then I don't have to think about, okay, I need to carry ear protection, put that in, and blow my ears out. So
plus you have you know, the fast mount with the aim point. This one is a I want to say it is a H2. Yeah, it's a H2, and basically, like I said, clears your lasers, has backup irons built in there just in case you need something really quick. And plus, this is all close quarters concept, so that should work pretty good.
And that was specific why we chose, especially the Unity Tactical on this, was because we do have an IR laser on the gun. And that's what, you know, not everybody's going to have that availability or want that availability and stuff, especially as, you know, the civilian market aspect. So that's why we wanted to show, you know, the other version of just a basic setup. But yeah, anyways, this gun here, everything like we talked about the other guns, in terms of being ambidextrous, thinking out contingencies, even where the push button is and stuff on my strong side or my left hand or my right hand, I can still touch this and such.
And there's still room for stuff that we're going to add later on, as far as, you know, additional hand stops, things like that that we ran out of. But so as far as doing the second one, you can see right here, hand stop further back as can for control. Some other additional grip panels here for some grip. And this one too, same thing, Surefire Pro, no pressure switch in case you don't have it. But the way Jonas set it up, also either maximizing rail space, put the sight forward, and just you can easily just reach back with your thumb, manipulate the light, and then even having it, when you position the light all the way forward, even so you're here, you can still reach around and manipulate the light. So it's fairly simple setup right here. Threw on HoloSun 510C. Like I said, low cost, but you know, good optic, and just your backup irons right here on the back. So pretty simple, no folder, but you can see the overall package is relatively small, and this one's going to do really well too.
So it's just kind of like when I do a lot of classes in the civilian sector, and even law enforcement too. I mean, outside of the length of the gun, this is a general setup that you see, you know, like right here, just the light, some iron sights, and then a holographic. And
that's like bare minimum.
Bare minimum. And then, you know, you even have some people where they don't even have this, they'll just have iron sights. So we just want to show a commonality weapon system, and then how this can help you out. You know, and so just very excited over having the ability of different options to set guns up regardless of the length size of your gun. But then if you're getting the short variations where this can be challenging, you know, you don't have to actually overthink it, you know, thinking like, hey, I have to get all these accessories and spend all this money just for a basic gun setup. Hey, look, this is very simple, okay, right here. And this is going to be able to help me out. Obviously, I think one of the biggest decisions is, especially as a consumer, when you guys are thinking of this, what is my environment, what are the solutions, what are my goals I'm trying to have. But it really, in my opinion, it starts out with what weapon system platform that you decide to choose. And there's a reason why I do work with TRIARC, and there's a reason why I have had this relationship with Chris and like all the great people that are down here pushing forward, is because they're just thinking of solutions consistently. But then the weapon systems themselves, I mean, I have stressed the shit out of so many guns and put thousands upon thousands of rounds through their carbines or pistol lines and such. And it has always met the requirement and the standard of what I needed and what I wanted. And so, you know, on some aspects where you may not have a lot of knowledge on either the fundamental applications and then ballistics trajectory and all these other things and stuff, just understand that it's like, get a competent weapon system that you can work with over a period of time and enhance it. This is an enhancer, that's an enhancer, this is an enhancer. But then, you know, your gun is going to perform the way that you're going to need it to, and then you add accessories to it just to make it more efficient for your operating environment or whatever your application is right there. And the last thing that you have to think about is if this gun's going to run. And so I've had classes with, again, law enforcement and then civilians that either the weapon systems that the LE guys had purchased, they went with a cheaper option, you know, or the civilian guy went with a cheaper option, or he, you know, again, we talked about before is like, you know, I got my buddy, he built a badass looking gun, and because it's got colors and like little cutouts and reductions and stuff, and then you put that gun under stress, and then next thing you know, it's falling apart. I mean, I've had students, civilian and law enforcement, with their duty weapons that once the guns were put under stress, I mean, they're just performance issues all around. And there's a variety of different things. I mean, that's a whole different conversation right there. But think of the platform, okay, and then think of the options and the accessories for your environment. Understand your environment and look at like what's going to enhance you. And, you know, if you're thinking contingencies, I mean, even stuff like 1 to 6s, you know, I mean, we didn't put any on the guns, but then you can use that. But then you have to learn how to work through it, and then where it's an advantage to you, and the sight system is working how it's supposed to in order for you to identify your sight and place your shot accurately.
That's a whole other door to open.
Yeah, it's a whole other door to open. Sorry, not trying to clear out. But anyways, great guns, great setups. They feel great. Awesome. They look great, and then really excited to go burn it down here.
Yeah, so we'll go run through some drills and see if we need to make any changes. And but so far, yeah, I feel comfortable. They all look great. They all feel good. Yeah, well, ready to go to the range. Next episode, we'll be hitting the range and going through a shoot house, running a couple drills, little scenarios, going through the weapons. But other than that, though, we appreciate you watching the episode. And make sure if you have any ideas or tell us how you set up your CQB rifle. If you have a AR pistol or an SBR and whatever for duty or home use, put it in the comments. Let us know how you guys set it up, what works for you. And we always like to know, we always like to hear, because there's so many different variables out there. It's always good to learn. And like I said, stay safe out there. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and appreciate everybody.